Hey, Ryan. Hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan, Donald Trump Jr.
Harsh to win, see you. Hey, everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics. Follow on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Here is your host, Ryan Samuels.
Hello, Patriots. Welcome back to the show. We are here again, and MSNBC has completely lost their damn minds. They are so out of touch, I can't even comprehend the things I'm going to show you tonight. Now, we all know, I mean, everybody knows that MSNBC is just an arm of the Democratic Party. An extreme arm. They're not even like subtle about it. They're obviously biased, and that's fine. Every news outlet is biased. I don't care. Fox News is biased. Newsmax is biased. Obviously, and so is MSNBC. What I'm about to show you is the most delusional thing that I've ever heard. They have come full circle to just they used to just twist the truth. Now they're just outright lying. They're just outright lying. And they think that you're an idiot. They think that the people who are watching are idiots. And I will tell you, if you're watching MSNBC seriously, then you're kind of an idiot. I'm not going to lie. So listen to this. Little technical difficulties, but I'll get that squared away. But they're just completely delusional.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. Mm-hmm. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically.
They're talking about Joe Biden. About Joe Biden being better than he has ever been intellectually.
Because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not. Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is... And I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And you...
Do you hear yourself? What a fucking clown. What an absolute clown. I mean, the guy is a damn joke. They are just completely, they're grasping so hard to sit there and seriously try to make an argument that Joe Biden is the best he has ever been. It is rational people know better. But they made a huge mistake last night where they attacked the actual voters, people, right? And we're going to get into that. They're completely melting down. They're completely melting down. Trump is way ahead in the polls. It does not look like there is any light for Joe Biden whatsoever. No matter what they try to do, how hard they try to spin it, they're losing their minds.
Inching closer to a general election rematch between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Now, in terms of fundraising, the Democrats currently have a financial advantage over the Republicans. Joe Biden started the year with $46 million on hand compared to Trump's $33 million.
So historically, well, recent history, the Democrats do have better or in a better financial position, because as much as they want to yell that the Republicans are in the pocket of business and we're anti-capitalism, all of big business supports Democrats. All of these college-educated, woke people, and I'm very college-educated, so I've seen it from the inside. These people are nuts. These are the same people that are getting Dylan Mulvaney to do Bud Light ads. These are the same people censoring you on YouTube, structuring Google searches, wokeism, diversity, equity, and inclusion, all of that. They're all donating to the Democratic Party, these CEOs and these major corporations and corporate figures. So, yes, that's typically how it's been.
Here's some news, though. Perhaps that imbalance will not last for long. Check out this scoop from the New York Times tonight. You see the headline there. Donald Trump seeking cash infusion meets with Elon Musk. The New York Times reporting that Donald Trump met with Elon Musk and also a few other wealthy Republican donors seeking a cash infusion to support his campaign. That was within the last few days. That was reportedly over the weekend. According to the Times, Trump is now hoping to have a one-on-one meeting just with Elon Musk, who reportedly has been saying that he believes it is, quote, essential to defeat Joe Biden in November, quoting the New York Times there.
It's absolutely essential to beat Joe Biden in November. But now they're freaking out because the financial advantage they had, Elon Musk can just take it all away. I mean, with the stroke of a pen.
Elon Musk, of course, is one of the 2 richest people on earth. He could single-handedly erase any financial advantage Democrats might have heading into the general election in November if he decided to, and if he wanted to play it that way. What would that mean for what happens to the world and the republic?
And we're sure that money is not to pay Donald Trump's legal bills.
Guess what? It can. And when we all sit here and go, oh my gosh, Donald Trump owes $83 million on E. Jean Carroll, he owes $400 million here, and we say he doesn't have that money, guess what? Whether it's Elon Musk or all sorts of other supremely wealthy forces out there, they would be happy to pay the bills for someone who could be the next president.
Yeah,
Elon Musk
owns the president of the United States.
He hates the FTC. And how much would he like it if he then owned the president?
Yes, I mean, this is, let's go back to Citizens United and Mitch McConnell and John Roberts, who have crafted the universe in which we operate, who have brought us to a position where the richest billionaire out of it's like an 1890s Gilded Age cartoon in a newspaper, and the corrupt president desperately in need of cash have a meeting, and what is either the explicit or implied quid pro quo in that interaction? Musk has tens of millions and not hundreds of millions of dollars of government contracts with the Pentagon through SpaceX. He has unbelievable amounts of interest in regulatory affairs. He's currently suing to get rid of the National Labor Relations Act of the New Deal to destroy unions across the board and render them unconstitutional. That is
I mean, these are good things. By the way, MSNBC. Unions ruin business. Sorry. If you're listening and you're a union worker, man, I get it. It's not a personal attack on you. It's just a fact. They ruin businesses. And the unions don't ever act in the interest of the people in the union. So if you're in most unions and you don't want to be in the union, you don't have a choice. They can say, well, you don't have to be in the union, but you have to pay your dues. Well, what the hell does that mean? That means I have to pay the dues no matter what if I want to work here. And the dues are crazy. A lot of times you don't get much from being in the union. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. I've worked for many private companies, and I have made way more money and been in better positions than people in a union because I wasn't paying all these dues, and the company wants to attract the right amount of talent. So they're willing to pay extra for the talent. The union constricts you from growing.
Current lawsuit he has filed onto. Think about the sheer ROI, return on investment, of an investment, and it so shocks the conscience that this would even be possible. And it's only possible, again, because of Mitch McConnell, because of the Roberts Court and the MAGA Court, that you could even be in a position where you have such an obviously corrupt setup.
Chris, Tesla is the only car manufacturer that is allowed to sell directly to consumer, because one of the biggest, strongest lobbies in this country is car dealership owners, right? So the fact that he could back Donald Trump, the fact that he could pay his bills and then be able to push Donald Trump around, giddy up. That's an easy one for him.
And by the way, he controls Starlink, which is critical to the defense of Ukraine and to the U.S. defense establishment. This guy could be the J.P. Morgan of the current era. He would literally own a desperate, fearful man. I sat and watched 7 minutes of Donald Trump speaking from what looked like his basement the other day. Donald Trump is afraid. He's afraid of going to prison. He's afraid of...
Donald Trump is not going to prison. It's like when you tell the lie so much, you start to believe it. They're so out of touch. They're like completely, like, look at her with her hard part. Like, she's a fool.
Of losing everything that he built in New York, well, that his dad built, and that he like borrowed money from the Russians or whatever after he...
Okay, first of all, his dad did not build it. His dad started, and then Donald Trump took it to the freaking moon. I mean, literally, look at it. He left him some money, but not billions of dollars. He turned it into a billion-dollar empire, multi-billion-dollar empire. It wasn't his father. It was Donald Trump himself.
He failed at business. But he could be saved right now. All he needs is a billionaire like Elon Musk who wants to own him. And
Donald Trump is worth like $4 billion. Now, as it sits, if Truth Social goes public and he sells all of his shares, that alone is worth $4 billion. So that's $8 billion. I'm sorry, but the guy can afford to throw $83 million out there or $355 million. He doesn't care. I'll be honest with you. He doesn't care because he's going to write it off somewhere else, or he's going to sell a property at a higher cost and he's not going to pay the capital gains. Like, this is how it works. Like, you're not going to get him. And you think he's broke over an $83 million judgment or in a 350, so 400 and what, 20 million? 430 million, whatever it is. You think that's going to ruin somebody who has $8 billion? Just so out of touch.
And that's a mute, and then he gets to be president, and he gets to dismiss all his cases. Boom. He's basically, that is his MBS.
He's running for his life.
He's running for his life.
It also, does assume that Trump is inevitably going to win once he has Elon's money behind him. And though I believe that money in politics is a colossal problem.
Oh, yeah, no.
There is, he is
but you'd
someone
rather
who's
be
reliant,
even than outgunned.
Yes, but he is reliant on government contracts.
Yeah.
And, if Joe Biden's reelected and Elon Musk has bankrolled Donald Trump,
that's a great
point.
Then what do you do? Tesla wasn't invited to the last EV summit at the White House, and they won't be invited in 2025.
What you're supposed to do with that money is to fund ground campaigns, mail campaigns, etc. They're already saying they're not going to do mail. Most of that money, let's be clear, is going to go to cure Donald Trump's personal financial issues, not to the ground campaign.
Can I just say,
he doesn't have any fucking personal financial issues. It's nothing to him.
Say one more thing about this, because I actually find it like very usefully clarifying. Is it so much of the way that Donald Trump talks, so much of the way that our politics.
This is what an echo chamber looks like. These people just talk to themselves or people like them, never hear an opposing view, listen to what each other say, take parts of what each other say, and they just keep pushing this delusion that it's like a game of telephone. Like, you just lock people in there with their assumptions, and then they just chirp off each other and build each other up. This is literally just an echo chamber.
Talk about are these sort of like cultural signifiers, these points of like intense sort of ideological, rhetorical, demographic conflict in the country, the invaders coming over the border, the sort of Marxists that run the Democratic Party, they're trying to destroy the future. When in power, what Republican governments do is do policy that helps people like Elon Musk.
Look at this guy. He looks like the fucking Zodiac killer.
They cut corporate taxes. It's the only domestic policy bill that they passed the last time around when they didn't build the wall. They had all three.
They did make it easier for people adjudicated to be mentally ill to buy firearms.
They also did that. But to me, it's just like there's this whole, you're sort of watching Elon Musk like self-radicalize and online every day. His brain gets mushier and mushier and mushier.
Elon Musk is a genius, dude. I'm sorry. Yes, he has government contracts. He's launching spaceships into space and creating a network of internet called Starlink. I have Starlink. We're using Starlink right now to do this live video. There is a satellite in my backyard that this is literally going up to the sky and coming back to your local internet and right into your living room or your computer or your phone, wherever. I'm not attached to any hard line in this on my entire property. I'm using satellite. Look how fast this is in the high def for satellite. What Elon Musk is doing with Starlink has never been done before. It is changing the game for people who live in the middle of nowhere, who have never had access to internet.
And, you know, there's part of this radicalization is like social media and his own ego. But again, when you look at what governments do, local governments, state governments, federal governments, when they are Republican and conservative governments with power, they deregulate, they go after unions, they cut taxes for rich people. And so there's something very clarifying about Elon Musk and Donald Trump together in the same room, because it cuts through a lot of like the faux populism and culture war nonsense that masks fundamentally the material interests that are being pursued by this man.
But that is also why people often falsely say Republicans are good for the economy, because in terms of deregulation, in terms of big business, that set will say a Republican is a safer bet for me.
For us, yes.
For us. And that's where that narrative comes from. You've even heard people say, well, if it's good for my boss, maybe it'll trickle down to me. It won't. But that's where the mindset comes from.
How's the economy doing now? We going to talk about that? How's your grocery bill? No? But it's better under Democrats? Interesting.
What makes it perfect, chef's kiss perfect, is that the Supreme Court sits atop it all, trying to ensure the longevity of Republican government, because that is how they get their wonderful vacays. And they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that Donald Trump comes in so that those two grifters on the court, if I might say, can retire and have 30-year-old versions of themselves to replicate the grift.
It's a grift. So the reason the Supreme Court is ruling in favor of Republicans is because the Republican ideology, not so much always the actions, but the general ideology of the limited government, freedom of speech, gun rights, are all constitutional. So all the things that the Democrats are trying to do, like totalitarian government, exerting control, censorship, what else? Are all anti-constitution. So the Supreme Court looks to, well, they're supposed to look to the Constitution and interpret it, but they don't do that anymore. They look at what previous judges that preceded them think about it. And so you have that air of, oh, they're always voting in favor of the Republicans. And okay, I'll tell you why. Because the Republicans are fucking right. That's all it is. You just lost 9-0 to remove Trump from the ballot in Colorado, including 3 far-left extreme Democrats voted against that. That's how unconstitutional it is.
I should just say, though, that in terms of the whole logic around there being, like, legal policing of this, like, you shouldn't, ideally, in a democracy, have a multi-billionaire be able to come in and say, here are multiple billions of dollars to cover all your legal fees, to cover all your campaigning fees, and to...
How is that even happening? Where is that happening? He's just meeting with him to get a donation. All of a sudden, now this turns into you shouldn't be able to get all your legal fees and all your things and get billions of dollars. Elon Musk is not going to hand Donald Trump billions of dollars. I would be very surprised if he did that. I would have laughed my ass off if he did. But he's not going to go, I know you have $8 billion. Here's $3 billion. He's going to donate to the campaign.
set you up in a way that you can't lose. We technically shouldn't have that. But how do we police it? We police it by shame, right? Because it's speech. Money is speech, and therefore it's transparency. And so if all we can do is force disclosure of the funding, that will take care of itself because people will be repulsed by this.
But
if it was all disclosed, people would be repulsed at the insane amount of money Democrats get from big business and kickbacks.
And of course they won't.
Oh, and with Joe Biden, foreign governments.
Is Donald Trump's superpower.
Yes.
Remember,
It
back when we were
renders
saying this guy doesn't pay his taxes, and he said, you're right, I don't, because I'm smart. But I'm not.
Yes, correct. If you do not have an income, you don't pay taxes. That sounds crazy. I understand that. But there are employees and then there are business owners. If you work in a W-2 job, you pay your income tax. If you own a property and you rent it out, you don't pay income tax on that. It's not income. Or you write it off through depreciation because it went down. Or you had to fix this, or you installed new lights, or you put a new driveway in, or I had to add storage units or a garage. There's ways. And then you build up the value of the property, and then you take a loan against it. But then you then you use that, and then you leverage that into another business, and you use the business to pay for your car and your phone, and you don't pay taxes. That's how the system is set up. Anybody can do that, not just billionaires. Small little business owners do that all over the place.
To Democrats, when Joe Biden was running, he said, I'm going to close so many loopholes so it won't just be shameful for Republicans to violate emoluments and so on and so forth. And they haven't. And if we end up with a Donald Trump again, like, it's no holds barred. MBS, come on over for a barbecue.
I'm just going to say that there is this idea when you study countries that used to be democracies that slid out of democracy and became authoritarian instead. One of the things that everybody who studies that in every country tells you is that the institutions cannot defend themselves.
That's right.
And we have set up our institutions so that their defense against authoritarian rule and anti-democratic tactics is shame.
Right.
And is transparency, and is people knowing the information and being able to react accordingly. If that is all we've got, then our institutions will not defend our democracy. If we let things play out along these lines, our democracy will fall and we will become a country that doesn't have elections anymore.
We're becoming that because of Democrats. Remember, they accuse you of doing exactly what they're doing.
And so we're in a situation right now where we can't count on the existing structures to just do this on autopilot. There's only one way out of this. You have to pick one. You have to pick Donald Trump, or you have to pick Joe Biden.
Yes.
There isn't a magic other answer.
Nope.
There's no institution. There's no court. There's no criminal prosecution.
There's also no
there is no
truth right
institution.
now, because people don't hear it.
There's no magic in the media.
So the lesser of the evil argument, here it comes.
There's people having to figure out which one of those candidates they want and what it means for the future of this country.
Yeah.
And then going out and doing the work to make sure that that candidate wins. It means not only voting, it means literally doing what you can to make one of those two candidates win. And if you're not working for one of them, you are by default working for the other.
And by the way, you know what?
It's all we've got.
They're morons. Absolute morons. Now, they did cause a major stir when... this is all over Twitter, and people are jumping on this. This is, Rachel Maddow again. And they're laughing. They're laughing at people because the exit poll showed that their number one concern was immigration. So they literally are laughing at them. Watch this.
But Republican voters don't vote that way. They don't vote based on economics or based on the benefits.
This is the wrong one. But we'll go with this one anyway. This is Joy. She's talking about how all of voting for Republicans is racism.
But Republican voters don't vote that way. They don't vote based on economics or based on the benefits they're getting economically from the president. They're increasingly, from the Tea Party on, they're voting on race. They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border. The idea that they can't get whatever job they want. A black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges, get rid of DEI. That is what they're voting on. They're just voting specifically on racial animus at this stage.
Has anybody heard of Republicans trying to drive black people out of colleges? Or have they?
I mean, if you look,
or have they said it's not fair to give somebody preference based on the color of their skin, that we want it done by merit? Is that? Wait a second. Okay, so I got it, Joy. Republicans are saying we want this to be based on merit. We don't want it to be based on the color of somebody's skin, right? We don't care what color their skin is. If they earn their way into the college, if they have the right scores and they meet the right criteria to get into the college, great. That's awesome. We applaud that. It's a meritocracy. But you're saying that by making it fair, that conservatives are trying to drive black people out of college. So what you're really saying, Joy, is that you do not think that black people and minorities could win on a meritocracy because you feel that they are inferior to white people. Is that what you're saying, Joy? Are you a racist? Is that racism?
I mean, if you look.
Here's Peppermint Patty.
Look at some of these exit polls. I mean, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the #1 issue. Yeah. I mean, again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very contested area.
They're laughing at it. This is how out of touch with reality they are. They're complete lunatics. The #1 reason, the #1 concern for voters is illegal immigration. MSNBC laughs at that because they're just completely out of their minds. Because everybody's an idiot if they don't agree with them. Here's Senator Tim Scott on this situation.
MSNBC, or as you say, MSDNC. Race card after race card after race card. I'm sick and tired of their tired old race and bait strategy. 4 out of 10 black men aren't being raced and baited. You know why? Because it's clear. If you care about our nation and you want a sovereign border, we got to close it. That's good for white people, black people, Hispanics, and Asians. That's why Hispanics today support Donald Trump over Joe Biden. It's why we see millennials who can't buy homes supporting Donald Trump.
100%. Good job, Tim. And even RFK came out. Now, he's a Democrat, right? Well, now he's running as an independent. But listen to what he had to say.
Presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. joins me now. So the President of the United States has opened the border. There's over 10 million, he calls them newcomers in this country. They're raping children. One of them just murdered an American girl in Georgia. Is the president a national security threat?
Well, you know, it was dismaying to see those hosts on MSNBC, Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow and Jim Psaki, ridiculing middle-class Americans who are concerned about what's happening at the border. What's happening at the border would be unsustainable for and unacceptable to any country in the world. We're watching, and it's not racist to say that the Mexican drug cartel should not be controlling U.S. border policy. Right. I've been down there twice, and it is absolutely horrendous. There's 7 million people who've walked across the border and gotten free plane tickets, many of them, any destination they want. And as you pointed out, Mayor Adams in New York City, I said this is an existential threat to New York City. He was not exaggerating. New York City had to cut its police budget by 5%. Its sanitation budget for 5%, its education and healthcare budgets by 5%, in order to pay for this influx of immigrants that have come into the city. There are now encampments at Randall's Island, which are on the playing fields for New York's public schools. So for 2.5 years during COVID, these kids, many of them on scholarship trajectory, could not play their sports. And it ruined, many of them, it ruined their hopes for a certain kind of life. And today they can't play again because there's illegal immigrants encamped on the street, and those immigrants are being preyed upon. It's a humanitarian crisis for them as well. I saw it at the border. They've been exploited, extorted. Many of them have been raped, robbed, brutalized by the cartels before.
I mean, all of that's true, but MSNBC is laughing. They're laughing at, well, like he said, like RFK said, middle America, because they're better than you. They know more than you do. They think you're a fool. Guys, thank you for tuning in. This is Ryan Samuels, host of The Ryan Samuels Show. Do not forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Follow this channel. Follow us on the podcast. And thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to The Ryan Samuels Show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.